host, Osa. Today I am going to read an article about relationships, and somebody's perspective on, somebody who's recently been married, and somebody's perspective on what are some of the common traits of having a successful marriage. And somebody did a little bit of research and found that there was a lot of similarities between the answers, or a lot of continuous responses or continuous ideas that kept coming up in terms of people who have long-lasting marriages or relationships, right? So let's start to read it. Right? It's called "Every Successful Relationship is Successful for the Same Exact Reasons." All right, so I sent out the call the week before my wedding. Anyone who has been married for 10 plus years and is still happy in their relationship, what lessons would you pass down to others if you could? All right, so this person, I'm gonna skip a few parts of this here. So, and just give a little quick summary and some of the points that are that was made, since that's the more important part here than her little soliloquy about trying to set the stage or whatever. But basically, this person got what do you call it? Let me see here. So basically, this guy got married recently, or whenever he wrote the article, and he was asking people who's been married for 10 plus years about what advice they can give him to him as newlyweds to make sure that that their relationships are long lasting. All right, so that's basically it. He kind of sent out certain messages and emails or whatnot, and then here are some of the responses that he got. Right, so one that that was kind of repetitive that kept coming up was, be together for the right reasons. Right, so don't ever be with someone because someone else pressured you to go. Don't ever be with someone because someone else pressured you to. I got married the first time because I was raised Catholic, and that's what you were supposed to do. Wrong. I got married the second time because I was miserable and lonely and thought having a loving wife would fix everything for me. Also wrong. It took me 3 tries to figure out what should have been obvious from the beginning. The only reason you should ever be with the person you're with is because you simply love being around them. It's really that simple. So this is a response. One of the responses that came in when Mark, who's the guy who's newlywed, asked these couples or these married couples who were married for 10 years. One of the responses was to marry for the right reasons, and I couldn't agree more with him, because as we see in marriage rates, I think right now the rate for divorce is 50-50 right now, maybe even higher, and even for women, 80% of those divorces that do occur are actually initiated by women. So for you as a man, you have to be kind of careful in terms of who you marrying. Are you marrying for the right reasons? Are you picking somebody for the right reasons instead of just maybe something physical or something that's tangible for a little while and then it's gone, or so just are your principles aligned with the person that you want to marry? Is that aligned? Are both of your principles aligned? You don't have to go through the process of having a divorce or this, that, and the third, and then complications start to happen. You lose half your money, you lose half of this stuff, yada yada yada, all because you weren't necessarily adequate enough or diligent enough to make sure that the person you're marrying is the right person. Right, so I always tell people, or tell guys, it's hey, take your time. You're not in no rush. Your woman cannot rush you into marrying her. If she's giving you a timetable, let her leave. Let her leave. Someone who loves you, who wants to be with you, who wants to be with you for the rest part of their life, will not leave you. Will not leave you because you're taking too long to put a ring on them. No, they understand that you have to make sure that you are settled, you are financially secured if that's the thing that you're chasing, or whatever it is you're chasing, and also that you're sure about her too. And that in turn is different for every guy, because each guy has their own checklist or thing that they're looking for in a woman that's going to take them time to figure out. So it could take 6 months, it could take a year, it could take 2, 3, 4, 5, 18 years. You know, it doesn't matter. Take your time, because if you rush and marry a chick that really wasn't for you, or wasn't really about you, or wasn't really in your corner, and then she divorces you, and then you end up getting divorced, like, you know, a whole slew of things start to happen, and it's just something you want to avoid. So, at all costs, take your time. Make sure that you're sure about who you want in a relationship first and foremost before tying a knot. All right. Let's take the next point before we go in. So, some of the reasons that could be wrong in terms of marrying is pressures from friends and family, of course. Feeling like a loser because they were single and settling for the first person that came along. Being together for image because the relationship looked good on paper or in photos, not because the two people actually admired each other. Being young and naive and hopelessly in love, thinking that love would solve everything. Right, exactly. So, like I said before, those are just points that basically whatever checklist you have, and whatever checklist you have, make sure that that person checks those boxes before you tie the knot with somebody. Because if you marry the wrong person, that's a whole life-altering annoyance that's going to be part of your life from either for a short period or maybe for the rest of your life, really, because you're connected in some way, shape, or form. All right. So the next point that he did, that they the next point that was highlighted in terms of repetitiveness was have realistic expectations about relationship and romance. You are absolutely not going to be absolutely gaga over each other every single day for the rest of your lives. And all this happily ever after bullshit is just setting people up for failure. They go into relationships with the unrealistic expectations. Then, the instant they realize they aren't gaga anymore, they think the relationship is broken and over, and they need to get out. No. There will be days or weeks or maybe even longer when you aren't all mushy-gushy in love. You are even going to wake up some morning and think, ugh, you're still here. That's normal. And more importantly, sticking it out is totally worth it, because that too will change. In a day or a week or maybe even longer, you'll look at the person and a giant wave of love will inundate you. If I'm saying that correctly. Inundate you. And you will love them so much you think your heart can't possibly hold it all and it's going to burst. Because a love that's alive is also constantly evolving. It expands and contracts and mellows and deepens. It's not going to be the way it's used to be or the way it will be, and it shouldn't be. I think if more couples understood that, they'd be less inclined to panic and rush to break up divorces. And she makes a great point here where, you know, relationships isn't, the fairy tale that you see on movies and television. It's work. It's something that you have to constantly work on. It's something that, finding the right person to constantly work on that is important. That goes back to the first reason, marrying for the right reasons, right? So having somebody who understands that love isn't always going to be up in the clouds is important, because not everything is going to be up in the clouds. There's going to be times where you're going to hate the person's existence, or just annoyed by that person's existence for days on end, for hours, days, weeks on end, even months on end. But in the back of y'all minds, y'all know that y'all in this for the long run. And I think that's really important, to make sure that the person that you're with knows that, because then any struggles that comes within your life, maybe from her life or your life, or anything that you're maybe chasing after that's putting a strain in your relationship, you guys know that you guys will always stick it out and come out on top together, instead of running for the hills as soon as the whole fantasy fairy tale wipes away. You guys are here for the long run, and I think that's a very important point to have, and to make sure that your partner has that same type of mindset as well. Right? There's like 100,000 different points that was made. I'm not going to read them all. Periodically I'll come back to here and kind of talk through some of the points that were made, because I think all 15 points, almost all 15 points that was made here, I almost agree with all of them. But as we go on, we'll reveal those points that I agree or disagree with. All right. So once again, thank you for watching the video. Don't forget to like, comment, share the video, subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. You know what you're doing, subscribe, right? Hit the bell next to the name, hit the bell next to the subscribe button so that you make sure you're notified whenever I put up a video. Comment. These 2 points make sense in terms of, like, not even for marriage, just relationships, right? Are there other points that you want to address in terms of, like, what type of things that are needed in order to have a successful relationship if you're not married, of course? Or if you're married, what are some points that you think might be on the list that has helped you have long-lasting relationships, the ones that are 10 plus years in, per se, right? The ones that are 10 plus years in, right? So, until next time, YouTube, alright? Take care. Up on a quarter century, not up the penitentiary. Some doors take a right. Oh wait, that's the cemetery. Rest in peace to the unknowns and the greats well known. Just knowing that 2-4 couldn't get to see his work be fully grown. The most poetic yet humble.